I have seen many videos of journalists interviewing members of the far right. Many of these interviews are extremely painful to watch. The journalists often have no idea what they are doing. The representative of the far right will run circles around them and secure a total optical victory. This is of course a serious problem, because making the far right look good empowers the far right. Making the far right look good aids their recruitment and leads regular people to respect them. This is very bad. The far right is able to do well in interviews because some far right people are intelligent and rhetorically skilled. We don't do ourselves any favours by downplaying the strength of our enemy and pretending that they are all blabbering idiots. We must know our enemy if we are to defeat them. That means recognising that the far right has within its ranks many intelligent and rhetorically skilled people. These people have repeatedly managed to outwit journalists and turn interviews that should be devastating into major optical victories. Such victories are usually a consequence of naivety and ignorance on the part of journalists who interview the far right without knowing much about them and the kind of rhetorical tricks that they employ. Here I propose some advice for those who wish to interview the far right. I am no expert on the far right, but I definitely have a better understanding of the far right than the average person. I am not an expert on the far right, but I know the far right better than many journalists seem to. Most people, including most journalists, never interact with the far right. This is of course because the far right is very unpleasant to interact with. However, interacting with the far right is important if you are to understand them. If you are going to give a good interview, you must understand the kind of person who you are interviewing. Your first interaction with the far right should not be a publicly broadcast interview. This provides the far right with an easy path to victory, as they will easily outwit someone who does not understand them. One must learn to understand the kind of person who they are interviewing before they interview them. This means interacting with the far right before you interview them. You cannot properly interview somebody if you do not understand them. Here I will provide some advice on interviewing the far right. This advice will be based on failed interviews and the mistakes that journalists continually make. Never attack the far right based on general assumptions about associated ideological labels. You have to attack them based upon what they and their organisations have done and said. Attacking them based upon assumptions about the ideological labels that they use will always lead them to deflect the attack and redefine the label. This will often end with the interviewer looking like a fool. The interviewer will go in all guns blazing. They will say things such as, "You are far right, so you must be racist. Are you racist?" Such broad attacks are easily deflected by the far right and give them an opportunity to make themselves appear more reasonable than they really are. You have to attack them based on things that they have done or said. Generalized attacks that are based on the relevant political labels will easily be deflected. An interviewer should also be very careful to never look overly angry, hostile, or combative. The interviewer must not go into the interview looking as though they are out for blood. The far right will always use this to their advantage. They will portray themselves as calm and reasonable, in contrast with the hysterical media. Yet it is also the case that the interviewer should not be too nice. If you are too nice, the far right will exploit that to make themselves look friendly and reasonable. The interviewer must find a balance. They must not be overly kind or overly angry. They must be calm and composed, while being firm and serious. This is essential. The far right will use anything else to their advantage to appear calm and reasonable. Do not give the far right an opportunity to look reasonable. The interviewer must not ask questions such as, do you condemn violence? Are you hateful? Are you an extremist? Do you hate racial minorities? These are easy questions. The far right want to murder masses of people. They do not care about morality. They will not hesitate to lie. Give them simple questions like these, and they will lie to you and make themselves look reasonable. Such questions are perfect for them. They are a perfect opportunity for blatant lies that make the far right look reasonable. Such questions give the far right an opportunity to exercise total dishonesty and secure a major optical victory. The interviewer must corner the representative of the far right and make them say things that make them look dumb and detestable. Trick them into espousing idiocy and hit them on the issues where they are the weakest. The interviewer must trick them into revealing the worst elements of their worldview. The interviewer must be aware of the dishonest rhetorical tricks that the far right will employ. Standard rhetorical tricks include lying, misleading and inaccurate comparisons, outlandish exaggerations, and highly loaded rhetoric. The interviewer should know how to spot these rhetorical tricks, and they should expose them and discredit them. This will neutralize the threat posed by such rhetorical tricks and deter a far-right victory. If the interviewer makes the representative of the far right look bad, they must not advance too fast. If you achieve a breakthrough, never advance too quickly. If you go too far, a great victory could become a devastating defeat. The difference between a reasonable attack and a ridiculous attack is one sentence. Do not get too carried away. Remain calm and composed, and only make claims that you can defend. The interviewer must be good faith, but not to the point of naivety. Your opponent will play dirty, so you must play dirty too. Do not assume that the representative of the far right is being genuine and sincere. They are not genuine and sincere. They will say whatever they need to say in order to secure power, and once they secure power, they will brutally murder you. Always remember that. These are not genuine or sincere people. These are intelligent, yet immoral rhetorical actors, who will say whatever they must to further their political views. They are not talking to you for the sake of making friends or having a good chat. They are talking to you in pursuit of political goals that are too revolting to be imagined. Do not forget that. Do not be good faith to the point of naivety. Do not assume that their intentions are good. Their intentions are to put you in a mass grave. Be reasonable, but never assume that they are coming from a good place, because they aren't. They are not liberal or humanitarian. They are not like you. For the sake of furthering their ideological goals, they will pretend that they are. Do not be deceived. The interviewer must not be overly aggressive or friendly. Have a down-to-business, facts-based attitude, not emotion or anger. Appear hyper-rational. As has already been mentioned, you must be calm and composed, while being firm and serious. Being too angry or too kind is a big mistake. The far right is excellent at exploiting both anger and kindness to secure an optical victory. Do not give them that opportunity. The interviewer must be well researched on far-right material and activities, and use it to openly and blatantly expose their dishonest rhetoric. You say that you are not a fascist, yet your last article is ended with the heavily emphasized slogan of the Italian fascists. This is an example of what a journalist could have said in an interview that I recently watched. A smart interviewer expects the far right to lie because they will. A smart interviewer will have 10 examples to disprove the many inevitable lies that the far right will utter. These examples will be inescapable. The far right is slippery. They will try to escape being exposed. Do not let them escape. The interviewer must show the far right no mercy. The interviewer must not fear a confrontation. The interviewer must not fear embarrassing or angering the far right. The interviewer must be ruthless and merciless. The interviewer must remember that the far right would kill them and many of those who they care about if given political power. The interviewer must show no mercy. The interviewer must not hesitate to embarrass the far right. Do not care about hurting their feelings. They want you dead. The interviewer must expect the far right to lie. They love lying, expect lying. Do thorough research and expose their lies. If you are going to ask them if they are racist, you should have 20 examples of racism up your sleeve to reveal once they have denied being racist. If you are going to ask them if they support violence, find 10 examples of them supporting violence to invoke when they deny supporting violence. Expect them to lie, get them to lie, and then expose their lies with evidence that is both solid and overwhelming. Remember that they are very slippery. If you give them an opportunity to slip away, they will take it. Do not let them change the subject or deflect. If they try, point out their futile attempts for what they are. The interviewer must know how to hide their power level. They must appear weak when they are strong to catch the far right off guard and secure an optical victory. They must appear strong when they are weak to ward off a devastating far right attack. The interviewer must expect dishonesty. The interviewer must remember that they are dealing with people who lack a strong sense of right and wrong. The far right will lie, because only through lying can they make their revolting ideology appear reasonable and respectable. Expect them to lie, trick them into lying, and expose their lies. If the interviewer remains calm and composed while being firm and serious, if they ask hard questions and expose lies, the representative of the far right will likely end up losing their own composure and raging. The interviewer can secure a major optical victory if they can make the representative of the far right rage. This will obliterate the lying and composure that is essential if the far right is to appear reasonable. When an interviewer makes a representative of the far right rage, they will suddenly become their true form. They will devolve into a screaming, hateful maniac who has disgusting and reprehensible views. If the interviewer is smart, they can make the representative of the far right rage and expose the far right for the bloodthirsty, hateful disgrace that it is. That brings my advice to an end. I hope that you found this advice to be interesting or helpful in some way. Oh, and one more piece of advice. Spend less time trying to make the far right look evil, and more time trying to make the far right look stupid. Being evil can be played off as cool and calculated, rational and reasonable. Being stupid cannot be. Looking evil is optically superior to looking like an idiot. Do not make the far right look like cold, calculated, evil people. Make them look like blabbering idiots, hypocrites, and fools. Many people do not care if they look evil, but nobody wants to look like a mindless idiot.